Hello everybody and welcome to round 6 of the Unofficial Tour Series as presented by Road to Glory, and today we are heading right up to the top of the UK, up to Motherwell in Scotland, and we have another classic crit circuit for you, another 25 laps of action. 2 races which will be running side by side, Class A and Class B, as we start to get to the pointy end of the series. Today is race 6 out of 7. So let's recap where we've been then. Week 1, we started off in Salisbury, followed by Croydon in London. That was race number 2. Then we shot across the country to the west coast of Wales, to Aberystwyth, for race number 3. Northwich was race number 4. And then Tuesday this week, we had the very tough Durham circuit with that sharp climb up South Street. There we are, race 6, Motherwell today, a little bit more climbing again. And then we'll be finishing next Tuesday in Brookfields. So let's have a little look then at the current leaderboards. So it's the best of 5, and you can see James Melville there and Kieran Jarvis tied on points after 5 events, each of them with 4 results in the bank. I can see that James Melville is on the start line today in Class A. And then we've got the promoted Gareth Spiridonov. He's been promoted from the B class and is now riding in A. PDQ Coach, who's dropped down out of the top 3, had a slightly disappointing race by his standards in Durham, that sharp climb. So we're looking to get rid of that result with a stronger result today. And then as we head down, Raul Lopez, Matus Wojtek, myself, Mike Lister, trying to get a few more points in the bag, get that 5th result to push us up the leaderboard if possible. So that's the Class A race. And then in Class B, we've got Stefano Brunelli, currently topped with 181 points. He was the winner in Durham. And then behind him, Angus Smith. Those two with a commanding lead over the rest of the field. But with Spiridonov now being promoted up to the Class A, it might mean a few more opportunities for the other riders. Will Hutchins there in 5th place. He had a strong ride, finishing 4th or 5th on Tuesday night in Durham, so that lifted him up the table there. So lots of action in that division. So riders are lining up on the start line. We're just under 2 minutes now from the start. So let's take a little closer look at today's action. So we're up in Motherwell, 25 laps, which is a 29.3 kilometre race. And there's 275 metres of climbing. And the start line, it shows it just at the top there. We've got a climb up Hamilton Road up to it, and a bit of a descent on the other side. It's it says 5% max there. That's the maximum in the middle, sort of 3-4% either side. So it's not as brutal as the Durham climb that we saw earlier in the week. But that drag is going to be 200 to 300 meters long. So there might be opportunities each lap for a rider to try and push away. And it'll be interesting to see how that final sprint transpires as well with that uphill finish. There we are then, there's the 2 start lines. We've got currently about a dozen riders on the Class A start. Got James Melville there, Ned Bowen, strong riders, and then about 2 dozen in the Class B race. So 10 seconds from the out to the start then. Let's get geared up. It's usually quick starts, so I don't want to get dropped because I'm doing the commentary and we're away. Actually not too hot in the Class A race. Looks like everyone's away nicely. And the Class B race the same. Everyone getting away. Come around the top of the circuit and hit this downhill for the first time. Starts off quite gentle, but then hits 8-9%, so the riders will pick up a bit of speed. Then flattens out. To around 1% before another left-hander. You can just see there's the start-finish line, just ahead. If the gradient picks up a little bit, 2-3% as they approach that line. So it's a 1.16 kilometre long lap, a little bit shorter than some of the laps we've been doing. So it should be quite a quick race. So 11 riders all still together in Class A. In Class B, actually they're slightly ahead of the Class A riders. Only marginally. That's probably because they've got a slightly bigger pack and that's giving them a little bit of a speed advantage. Alright, I'm going to get my fans on. Starting to warm up in here. Beautiful day outside. Beautiful day on screen as well, nice sunshine. It looks like a pack of 16 or so in Class B, all together. Bob Gorman in there. Simon Russell, race organiser. Kirby, Hutchins, familiar names from the other day and previous races. There's Maggie. Takes a little bit of a flyer off the front. Just stretching the pack on that climb. That's going to be the opportunity for riders just to put a bit of pressure on each other. Stretch out, you can see there are a couple of riders just off the back of that pack. Only a few meters, but that's all it takes. So Lopez in Class A has been brought back in, then he had a little bit of a 25-metre lead. Just stretching their legs up the hill, I think. Jarvis there safely in the pack. Our joint leader alongside Melville. Lopez not far behind with PBQ coach. So these laps are ticking off quite quick, round to just about completing 3 laps then. You see Motherwell there, just tail gunning at the back of that pack, now pushing up. Just making sure that he's not gapped. But once again, Lopez using that 5% kicker just to push on a little bit, try and stretch it out. Just making the other riders come across, put a bit of work in. So that pack is staying safely together. So back in Class B then, also looking like we've still got a good bunch close together. Looking at a decent speed. Matching the pace of the Category A riders. So the difference between Class A and Class B is based on a rider's functional threshold power, and that's how long they can hold a certain power for an hour. And riders are split between 3.8 watts per kilo, which is their power relative to their weight. So Class A is for riders above that threshold, and Class B is for riders below. So it's just a way to separate out riders to ensure everybody gets a good race. Some of those Class B riders might struggle to hold the Class A, but it means they can have a good competitive race without being on the limit the whole time, chasing down the stronger riders. So it looks like the Portuguese rider Sousa, currently in 11th place, just slightly gapped off the back of this pack. Seems like they've eased up a little bit, under 3 watts per kilo. Not particularly looking to, oh there we go, now they kick it up. You can see their number goes red because they start putting a bit more effort. If they work hard up this climb, there's a chance they could get back on into this pack. So Class B then, starting lap 5. The Hungarian rider Nagy, once again, leading them up that climb, but not being given any distance. Hutchins, Russell, Dubuque, all sticking with him, keeping that pack tightly bunched together. As we see a bit of a split in Class A. Not a big gap. Those riders behind will just have to put in a bit of effort just to close it up before the downhill. Once again, my heart rate monitor decides to pack in, which is not ideal. So this climb isn't really steep enough to put anyone into major trouble. well, I say anyone, that these packs should be able to get up here fairly compact. It gets a little stronger, as you can see there. The rider puts the effort in. But generally that pack will come back together. I don't think we'll see it splitting like we did on Tuesday. Where we had close to 20% gradients. So these riders comfortably kicking off the distance, a quarter of the way into the race already. We're looking at around about 45 minutes for the race time. So we're up over 55 minutes on Tuesday, because the lap was a little bit longer, a little bit hillier. See there, those riders in Class B, power numbers up above 400, approaching 500, as they come up over the 5% section. But the first 10 or so definitely all still together. It's going to take a bit of a sustained effort from the bottom of that hill, I imagine, to try and create some proper separation. Still a long way out in terms of distance to the finish line. So at this stage, any attack is more about trying to put your rivals under pressure rather than trying to create a gap for yourself. We have seen it though. Mr. May, also of the PDQ Club, on the Northwich circuit on Thursday last week, managed to solo away from the field in the Class A race very early on. I managed to just stick it. You see Kirby there in Class B. Tiny gap. There we go, caught again. But at the back of that pack, we might see a couple of riders just getting into difficulty each lap, doing their best to hang on. And that's when a well-timed attack might just create difficulty for riders. If you're already a couple meters at the back, when the attack starts, you can quickly find yourself falling off the back. And you can see there a little bit of a gap back to the series leader, joint leader Melville. Looks like he's getting back on now. But he might have been panicking for a minute there. This is where the other riders might sense an opportunity just to add a bit more pressure. That's why I'm going to go for a little bit of an effort off the front. Stretch it out I'm not trying to go away solo, just trying to make the riders behind me work hard as well. You can see McCarran there in 10th place. Over that last lap, he's now ended off the back of the pack. So in Class B, Brunelli, series leader, comfortably in that group, that lead group of 13 riders. Only marginally ahead of the Class A riders now. There's been a couple of hot laps on the Class A course, and that's closed the gap back down. As we now see another attack, Spiridonov. He's stepped up to Class A, and he's shown he deserves to be here. 20 metres off the front. Is this pack going to respond, or are they going to let him go? Looks like they're sitting up for the moment. Good time to attack for Spiridonov. Been a couple of hot laps. Riders might just be trying to catch their breath, thinking, no, I can't be bothered to chase. I need a breather. You can see he's got a 100-metre gap already. These solos off the front at a decent 400 watts. But there's some firepower in this pack. They've not always used it in the races so far, but if they decide to, that could come back pretty quickly. You see Lopez responding. I'm going to follow. And a few more riders come over. And it's all back together. So the pack there, not prepared to let Spiridonov get too far ahead. One lap, that's all he had. Doesn't look like there's any movement in the Cat B race. Still a group of a dozen or so. They're all just sitting patiently at the moment. That's a lap time of 1 minute 36 seconds. Not quite the quickest we've seen. But it is one of the quicker laps. So it's settled down a little bit in Class A. those attacks, perhaps just knocking the wind out of the sails of these riders a little bit as we approach the halfway point. And as I say that, we get an attack. Spiridonov again off the front. The riders are being alert. It's strung out, but they've all got a wheel. We see it come back together. So, series leader Brunelli with Dubuque for company. They've got a 25-metre lead in Class B. They've pushed on over the top of the climb. And that front group is down to 10. So every time a rider is lost out the back, makes it easier for the riders on the front to get away. The odds tip slightly in their favour. But they've been caught and that group is back together. Just like we've got our group of 9 in Class A, got a front group of 10 in Class B. As the joint leader, James Melville, puts in an attack in Class A. Has created some separation. But it's all closed up again. Just another little jab. Soften up the legs of your rivals. Keep them on their toes. That's what we see in both races. Riders using that hill just to up the power output a little bit, lift the speed, make the other riders chase them down. As Melville goes again. Jarvis, the joint leader, responds well. But it looks like Spiridonov has been caught out. He's working hard to get back on. Here he comes then. And you can see this pattern of attack and recover. attack up the hill. But then generally riders are sitting up at the top, and that's allowing the bunch to come back together. But those multiple attacks, lap after lap, will start to tire those riders that are caught out every lap. We see again Motherwell going. And at that time now, down to 1 minute 30. But the bunch responding well that time. No one dropped. As Motherwell now tries his luck on the flat. And he's caught. So that group of 10 still pretty much together in Class B. As there are now 10 kilometres to go. They've fallen about 300 metres behind Class A. Their lap times have come down to 1 minute 30. And that's extended their gap. So that one was a bit slower, 1:34. The cat and mouse has eased up a bit. So that bunch in Class B, there we go, they hit the line, hit that steeper section, it gets strung out. The Vuk on the front again. Not a big gap though. Those gaps are in single digits. So it won't take much to close that up. So over 2/3 of the way through these races now. Going to be well inside 45 minutes by the look of things. Neither of these riders in neither race have really sat in. That climb's making them work, making them try something. And that's keeping the lap time down. And that's happening in both races. Generally, those riders that are attacking up the hill, they're caught on the top flat bit, So it'll make the interesting tactics at the end, whether anybody's going to try and go early. You could attack that hill on the penultimate lap, try and get a gap. But it's been hard for riders to stay away for any amount of time. But it is only a 2-minute effort from the base of that climb, around the lap and back to the start line. Might be worth a shout. That start-finish line isn't too steep, so the stronger sprinters might fancy their chances, or the lighter sprinters, and then they've got a bit of a weight advantage. Or maybe we'll see someone go 4 or 5 laps from the end. Then that gives them a bit more time to build a lead and recover. The pack might just give them a bit more rope, thinking they've got a bit of time to reel them in. So looking settled in the Class A race this time. Up the climb, 5 laps to go then. Very much approaching the business end of this race. We might just see it really slowing down now as riders try to conserve some energy. For what are surely going to be a tough couple of laps. In both races. So we should see the A group finish first. We'll cover that, and then we'll switch across to Class B. So once again, Class B have done well to match almost the pace of Class A. We did beat them once or twice in this series already. So is anyone gearing up? Not yet. Jarvis coming through then. No, just getting to the front. Or 1:44, that's slow. Fastest lap was 1:30. I can tell you from the numbers there, it really has eased up. You can see the power bars, blues and greens showing that riders really are resting, barely pedalling on this downhill section. All just watching each other. Who's going to make that first move? Will they all bluff each other and just wait till the last lap? Will we see an early flyer? Well, oh, a few red numbers flashing. People thinking about it. Brunelli having a dig in Class B. Stretching it out. You can see there a few riders. Kirby 50 metres back at this stage. That pack is really strung out. And now it looks like Class B are just snuck in front of Class A. They've been keeping the pressure on in the B class. Class A have been sitting up. As we see a split now then in Class B. Front 3 or 4 riders pushing on. A couple of riders dropped out the back. So it looks like they're in about 3 groups. All that middle group bridge across to the front group. Looks like they are. But that attack has reduced the pack down by a couple. That will make the sprint a little bit easier, slightly better odds. So Class A is on the penultimate lap. Looks like Spiridonov's just been caught napping. He's working hard to get back on. Not what you want at this stage of the race. That's going to put a little bite in his legs. As both races take the climb for the penultimate time. Here we go then. Both races taking the bow. About 60 seconds from the line of both races. 500 meters to go. Uphill sprint. Bowen's going early. Not trying to follow. Oh. Wow. Well done, Ned. Ned Bowen went early. He made it count. I tried to follow and I got swamped. So Melville taking second, Smith in third, Jarvis fourth. Apologies, I didn't see Class B. I was too busy trying to sprint. So we'll bring you all the results in a moment. From our partner, RGT DB. So there we are then, the Class A result. Look at that, all 9 within a second of each other. But Ned Bowen leading the way with almost a half-second gap over the field. So strong finish by Ned, followed by James Melville, Angus Smith, Kieran Jarvis, and then Gareth Spiridonov on his Class A debut, stepping up from Class B, rounding out the top 5. So that will mean James Melville moving ahead of Jarvis, I think, in the leaderboard, going clear at the top. Was very close there. Can't see it there on the, you can just about see it there, 5th, 6th and 7th, look at that gap. 0.778, 0.779, 0.783 and then 0.795. 0.02 of a second between those guys. You saw it on the coverage. Flying formation over the line. I was just on the wrong side of it. So that was Class A. Let's take a look at Class B. As I have no idea who won that. So Stefano Brunelli, our division leader, taking the win, 0.15 seconds ahead of Simon Dubuque. Rick Barbera in 3rd, Matthew Hammond in 4th, Will Hutchins in 5th. A little bit more spread out there. Sean Murto in 6th, Gabor Nagy in 7th, Eric Kirby in 8th, Simon Russell 9th, and M. Jones about a lap down in 10th place. So some strong riding there again. Some impressive watts per kilos there for Class B. I think a couple of those riders might want to think about stepping up to Class A next season. That means Brunelli strengthening his hold on the top of the leaderboard in Class A, sorry, Class B. So that's all the action from round 6 of the Unofficial Tour Series, brought to you live from a virtual Motherwell as we look over the rolling landscape there of Pienza in Italy, although it looks just as sunny in Motherwell today. So thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the action. 2 exciting finishes, both races delivering once again. Come join us next Tuesday for round 7 from Brooklands as we round out season 1 of the Unofficial Tour Series. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you all next time.